Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a new Dedenne, and we're going to be having a little bit of a look back and discussion at the end as well. It's going to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be fun. Now, this is coming out in the upcoming Sun and Moon 6 set Forbidden Light, and it has been revealed and translated by the lovely Autobot Tesla. Now, being a fairy Pokemon is alright. Does mean you get a bit of the old fairy garden for free retreat, which could be a little bit worse. And you are hitting weakness against the new Dialga, which could be a little bit of fun, because the new Dialga does look like a very good Pokemon indeed. You do have a very, very, very low HP, unfortunately. Not a huge amount you can do about that, but, you know, these things happen. Now, I suppose being a Dedenne, it's kind of expected. 60 HP is low, you ain't going to be lasting very long, and with a weakness to metal, that means that if something like a Registeel comes out, they will be getting a very, very easy one-hit KO on you. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the price you pay for paying such a small Pokemon. Resistance to Darkness is kind of fun, but again, you've got 60 HP, and a retreat cost to 1 is pretty nice. Now, Dedenne isn't a stunning Pokemon, but it's got a couple of useful attacks. First of all, we've got Find a Friend. 1 fairy energy, search for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand. I'm assuming it's called Find a Friend. These kind of attacks usually are. And if you're playing a fairy Pokemon, let's say you're playing something like a Xerneas deck, this could be kind of useful. It's the beginning of the game, you don't have very much going on, you grab yourself a Pokemon. And honestly, what comes to mind here is your Tapu Lele. Because I've been in certainly a lot of games, and I'm sure all of you have as well, where you've just got nothing at the beginning of the game. You have nothing in your hand, you've got no supporter, no Professor Sycamore, nothing like that. And if you are in that position, it gets kind of depressing, because you're in what we call top deck mode. Either you draw something next turn and you're out of it and you're good, or you don't draw something next turn and life gets pretty bad pretty quickly. This allows you to grab a Tapu Lele. Now maybe your opponent goes, well, I don't want you to have a Tapu Lele, I'm going to play an end to reset your hand. That's fine, because you're only grabbing a Tapu Lele here if you have nothing. This could be kind of fun. But the other thing you could be doing here potentially is grabbing that Gardevoir if you've got a rare candy in hand. Now, I don't imagine this is going to see a huge amount of play for this particular attack, and the reason is very simple. We've got a Alolan Vulpix, and to be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, Alolan Vulpix is, as a Pokemon search card, just better in every conceivable way. Same weakness, same retreat cost, same HP, but instead of searching 1 Pokemon for 1 energy, it searches 2 Pokemon for 0 energy. So if you're playing Dedenne and you've got a fairy energy, this is kind of useful, but it is, for this attack, completely and utterly outclassed by Alolan Vulpix. I'm sorry. But the second attack here is quite a bit more interesting. For a double colourless energy, 30 damage, and it does 30 more if you've got any lightning Pokemon on your bench. Now, I did see a translation of this. I have checked with the lovely David Hockman just to double check. I saw a translation that said it was 30 damage plus 30 for each lightning Pokemon on your bench. That would have been absolutely stunning, because then with a full bench and a choice band, you'd be hitting 210, you'd be getting a one-hit KO on a Zoroark, and it would be, quite frankly, ridiculous. Unfortunately, it would also be kind of overpowered, and that very much is not what this attack actually does. What it does do is allow you to essentially do 60 damage for a double colourless energy on a fairy Pokemon. But this isn't for fairy decks, which again hurts the first attack, because the first attack uses fairy energy. This is a Pokemon for lightning type decks. And the reason here is incredibly simple. It gives you an extra attacker. One question I get asked a lot over on Twitter at the Wassy, or email at ptcgradio@hotmail.co.uk, or even just in the comments of my YouTube videos, is people saying something along the lines of, I want to put a colourless attacker in my deck to hit for this weakness, what do I use? Well, if you're playing a lightning deck, Dedenne could be that Pokemon. You're hitting 60 damage, but if you're hitting for weakness, that's 120. If you had a choice band, you're hitting for 90. With weakness, that's 180. This, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, is where Dedenne comes in quite nicely. Because let's say, for argument's sake, you are facing down a Dialga. Now, I've said that the Metal Dialga is going to be better than the Dragon. Some of my friends, the lovely Joe Bernard, for instance, has countered by saying, well, hang on a second, the Dragon Dialga's got a weakness to fire, Volcanion is still good. I would prefer to play the Dragon Dialga. Okay. I can't argue with that, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty gosh darn good. So, if people are playing the Dragon Dialga, that, to be perfectly honest with you, is where something like Dedenne comes in. It's a Dialga counter. Double colourless energy choice band, one hit KO for 2 prizes on a Dialga. That's pretty nice. Now, maybe you're playing this in a lightning type deck, or maybe you're just playing it in any deck, and you play any lightning Pokemon to put on your bench with it. Might I suggest Tapu Koko, the promo? Free retreat, attacks for a double colourless energy, 20 damage to all your opponent's Pokemon. It's a great tech that's seen an awful lot of play. So as far as I'm concerned, this attack is actually good. I am not saying to you that Dedenne is going to be an amazing Pokemon that's going to see a huge amount of play. That would be silly, and I like to be honest. Not terribly sensible, but at least honest. But what I will say is, if you want a counter for Dialga, or any other 100 HP or thereabouts Dragon Pokemon, then Dedenne comes in very nicely. Obviously, if you're playing a Gardevoir deck, you don't need Dedenne, you'll be smashing Dialga anyway. But honestly, I can think of much, much worse Pokemon than Dedenne, because you've got that built-in counter to Pokemon like Dialga, or even the new Palkia, for instance, ready to go straight away. The problem is, of course, that if you're playing it just as a Dialga counter, you're unlikely to be playing Fairy Energy, so that first attack isn't going to be coming out, but I do like this second attack. But this does bring me into the kind of discussion part of the video, which is, what does Pokemon do with a Pokemon like Dedenne? Because it doesn't evolve, and we see the same thing with something like a Pachirisu. Although I adore the new Pachirisu from Ultra Prism, which really is good at just being able to go and search out all of those lightning Pokemon and attach them. I say Pokemon, I mean energy. It's very nice. But you got a basic Pokemon that doesn't evolve, so you can't do like you could with something like, I don't know, let's say Rowlet, where it's terrible, but that's okay because it's going to become a Decidueye when it grows up. So you've got to try and make it kind of interesting. You can't make it as bad as an evolving basic. But similarly, it's not a legendary Pokemon. It's not a Registeel. You can't make it really good like a Registeel most of the time. So you're stuck in this weird middle ground where you're making a 60 HP Pokemon that isn't going to evolve and can't really have stunning attacks, but you still want to make it fairly interesting. I mean, the best job they did with Dedenne was the one from Furious Fist that had the really nice energy short attack, 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, that actually did for a long time become a splashable counter to Yveltal EX, which did see a huge amount of play. And I kind of see the new Dedenne very much like the old one. The old Dedenne was not a particularly great Pokemon in and of itself, but if Yveltal was seeing a fair bunch of play, it could be played as a nice anti-Yveltal tech. The new Dedenne is not a particularly good Pokemon in and of itself, but if Dialga or Palkia or some other good dragon type is seeing a lot of play, then I do think Dedenne is a fairly nice counter for it. And it's a little bit sad that Dedenne ends up stuck in this weird middle ground, but that's what happens when we have Pokemon that are kind of small and kind of weak like evolving basics, but they currently have no known evolutions. We end up in this weird middle ground, and I'm sorry, but I didn't make Dedenne. You can't blame me for this. Let's give him 3 Wassies. He's a nice tech. You need 1 or 2 of him in your binder. That's where 3 Wassies comes in. So I think Pachirisu's quite a nice little tech that you can chuck into decks if you want to take down a Fairy Weak Pokemon. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section, so go nuts. But remember the rule, be nice, because life's nicer when we're all nice to each other. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. Do check out my video game channel, Wassy Plays, for some video game related action. And if you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all sorts of fun things, then go and check it out over at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.